This you say Tok Khai Ke? Tok Khai Te?
Khai y tế.
Tok To
Khai
Khai
y
Y
tế.
Te?
Yeah.
To Khai Y Te? Hey guys, welcome to this new video. In today's video we're gonna discuss about the travel requirements to come to Vietnam. So if you've been following the news over the last weeks and months, it's official, Vietnam is finally open and we start to see on the streets the first international tourists that can come to Vietnam after almost 2 years that the country was closed. So in this video, I'm going to share with you my travel journey because I've been going to France and back to Vietnam during the last weeks, and I will go through all the different requirements so you have the clear picture if you want to come to Vietnam to do tourism, to do business, or just to come here to explore the business and investment opportunities. So right now we're gonna go through the first point, that is the visa requirement. So how does it work before the pandemic? We could get very easily a tourist visa, so you just apply to your embassy, you get an invitation letter and you can directly enter the country. Right now this thing is not available yet, so most of the tourists go through either the first way, that is getting an e-visa. So you have around 80 countries that can get that e-visa. It's a very straightforward process. You go to a website, I'm gonna display it here, you directly fill your information, you submit the copy of your passport, and finally within 2 or 3 days you will get the information from the immigration in Vietnam that you got granted an e-visa. Again, it's very easy, so that's why that's one of the first way most of the current tourists are entering Vietnam. Now the second way you can also enter Vietnam is to go through the visa exemption. So you have around 30 countries, so if you are on the list you can easily come to Vietnam. You don't need to do any paperwork upfront, you just enter Vietnam, you present your passport at the immigration, and then we'll grant you a stamp that can allow you to stay in Vietnam for 15 days. 15 days can be a little bit tight, that's why according to your plan into coming to Vietnam, you should choose either the option 1, that is getting the e-visa, or the option 2, that is getting that visa exemption. So now if you are someone that is more looking into finding a job in Vietnam or coming here for business opportunities, you also have the business visa. The only thing that changed before the pandemic and right now is that if you want to apply for a business visa, you need to have a legit sponsor that can sponsor you to enter the country. So it's either you come here with a company that you will be working for, they can sponsor you and get you a 3 months visa, or if you are also someone that is coming here to explore the opportunities, for instance, setting up a company, doing some investment, you can consider partnering with a local. You can have a company created that can be done remotely, or if you are physically in Vietnam, and then with that company it can sponsor you and let you enter Vietnam with a 3 months visa. So now you have the whole understanding about the visa aspect. Let's move now to the health requirements. So now we come to the second point about the health requirements. So the first important point is that Vietnam allows vaccinated or non-vaccinated tourists to come to Vietnam. So over the last months, we observed that Vietnam did a switch from being pro-vaccine to finally letting anyone enter the country. So if you want to come to Vietnam, the only thing that you need is a negative test. So it can go through two ways. Either you get a PCR test 72 hours before landing to Vietnam, so you have to make the calculation based on the time frame you are right now. Don't mess up with this, but basically this is the first option. The second option is to go through the rapid test, that is basically also called the antigenic test. So you have to go to a pharmacy, they will test you and they will provide you the result usually within 1 hour, and that test has been done 24 hours before the departure. So this is the two ways you can test, and if the result is finally negative, you are free to enter Vietnam and to enjoy this beautiful country. There is still something that you have to pay attention, is that as soon as you will enter Vietnam, you have to monitor your health. So basically, you know, every day or 2 days, you can be sure that you don't have any high temperature, etc. And then the other requirement that is asked by the authorities is that as soon as you land to Vietnam, you have to do a health declaration. So you have to connect to the website that is called tokied.vn. You find all the inscription here right now on the screen. So you log to this website, you fill all the different information. Which country are you coming from? What was the transit you've been through? If, for instance, you transit to different countries before entering finally Vietnam, you just fill that. You will get a QR code directly at the airport. We have few staff from the airport scanning those information and putting yourself in their registry, and then as soon as this is done, you are free to go to pick up your luggage and to go straight to the downtown of the place you are landing. Another requirement that we got from the health ministry was to install an app that is called PC COVID. So that app was used all in 2021 and the beginning of 2022, and it helped to track everyone. So if you have any symptom, you can declare yourself to go to different places in Saigon or in Vietnam, like coffee, restaurants, mall, hospital. They will also ask you to scan a flash code, but usually right now the health declaration that you are doing at the airport is enough to let you enter the country. So this is the health requirement that you have if you want to enter Vietnam, and there is one last thing, it's about the health insurance. Now we come to the third point. The requirements that are, if you want to enter Vietnam, is getting the proper insurance. So actually you have two choices. Either you plan to stay in Vietnam a couple of months, it can be 6 months, 9 months, 1 year or more. The best is to get you an expat health insurance. So usually you have to go through different providers. You can get more information about this below in the description. And the second option, especially if you stay here only for a couple of weeks, is to get a travel insurance. This is what I would recommend you to take. Same if you want more information about this, check below in the description. You have one link, you fill your information and we will provide you the best provider that you think is suitable for your needs. You can travel to Vietnam, but it's also available for other countries in the region. You just book one health insurance provider and you are free to go and to match all the different requirements of the Southeast Asian country. So basically that health insurance will cover to Vietnam up to $10,000 of coverage. So it doesn't mean that you have to pay $10,000. I saw this online. People misunderstand the coverage versus the price that you have to pay to be covered is two different things, and usually those kind of insurance cost between $50 to $100 for a few weeks of stay in Vietnam. So that's something that is mandatory, even if they don't necessarily check it when you are taking your plane in your foreign country, but it's something you can do straightforward directly online. Same, you fill the different information, the date of entry that you plan to enter Vietnam or other neighboring countries in the region, the exit day that you plan to leave the country, and basically the form will process the information, give you a quotation, you pay online, and you receive within a few hours your health certificates, and that's the piece of information you can show either to the travel agency or either when you enter Vietnam if they ask you this information. So you have finally in hand now all the requirements if you want to enter and visit Vietnam. So let me recap everything. First, you have to enter either on the tourist exemption or with a NI visa. That's the two common ways. You can also apply to get a business visa. Usually it's only if you come to find a job or to do business in Vietnam. Then second, you have to be sure that you match all the health requirements. So you get a PCR test 72 hours before landing to Vietnam, or an antigenic test that you have to pass overseas before taking your plane 24 hours before the departure. And finally, you have to be sure that you have in hand a health insurance. It can be an expat insurance or a travel insurance. Again, check below in the description. We will give you more information about that and about the provider that I'm using and I recommend personally. And when you have everything in hand, you can come to Vietnam. So finally, about my travel experience going to France in February and going back to Vietnam in end of March when the tourism was already reopened was a pretty smooth experience. I got all my tests done in Paris. I could enter in Vietnam smoothly. At that time, they still got some tension between Ukraine and Russia. So in the meantime, the price of the flight went up. But this is something that is not really predictable if you are traveling to Vietnam. So the overall experience was pretty good from Paris directly to Ho Chi Minh City. So if right now you are considering coming to Vietnam to visit this amazing country, this is right now the best time to come because you don't have so many international tourists yet. You have the economy that is rebounding from the big chaotic time that happened in 2021. So you have someone that is looking for those kind of business, job or investment opportunities. This is the right time to book your flight ticket and to discover this country. If you have any question, feel free to leave me a comment below. We try to update if the requirements are changing in the future. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, and I see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye bye.
Down and I'ma get it right, then I'll sight like